I'm George Curtis. Welcome to It's Your Law. Each week it's my privilege to bring guests that tell us all about some part of the legal process, making the laws, breaking the laws, enforcing the laws, dealing with controversies, something that we should know a little more about because we've got the most important job in this country. It's called being a citizen. But that's only half the story. We've got to be an informed citizen, and this show is supposed to help us all be more informed. We have a nonpartisan election. That means no political parties involved. Coming up, I think it's the 3rd of April, and we have a race for Judge, Branch 1, Circuit Court, Winnebago County, and we have 2 well-known candidates. This is a great opportunity for them. It's a greater opportunity for the citizens, and it's an opportunity for you today to find out what one of them has to say as to why he's running and why he should get your vote. His name is Scott Ceman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Curtis.
Mr. Curtis, well.
George, okay.
Well, you came to this particular point in your career and in your life by an unusual route. Most people became lawyers because their grandpa was a lawyer or there was a family law practice or something like that. But that's not your trip. Tell us about your map.
I grew up on a farm just over the Winnebago County line in Waushara County, about 20 minutes straight west of here. And it was my mother's maternal family farmstead. My father was an iron worker. And so us kids, we worked the farm until we were about 12 years old or so, and then we started with my father and his business as steel workers. And after high school, I joined the Army. I did a stint as a U.S. paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division, and then I returned back home afterwards, and I continued as an iron worker. And I worked as a steel worker for about 7 years before going to law school. And the last 4 years of that, I was working mostly at night, so I went to UW-Oshkosh during the day and got my bachelor's degree.
And then where did you go to law school?
Hamlin in St. Paul.
Oh, that was a hike, so that you had a 5-hour drive going back and forth, and I assume also working.
I did, yeah. I lived there during the week, and then I would get up at about 2 a.m., and I would, on Saturday morning, I would drive back, and we'd always work Saturdays, and I'd meet everybody at the site, somewhere between 6 or 7, and I'd try to put about a 12-hour Saturday in, and then get up Sunday morning, and I'd drive back.
Well, being a farm guy says a lot about work ethic. You either are a great, diligent, hard worker, or you're out of a farm. Then the steel background is similarly intense labor. What made you decide to go into the law at that stage?
It was a couple things. When I applied for law school, work was slowing down a bit, and it was a family business, and having picked up a bachelor's degree, I had an option my brother didn't have. And I'm also a disabled vet. It was at the start of my second 4-year enlistment. I was in a parachute accident and had to have a surgery on my ankle, and some arthritis and some other things started setting in. It was questioning just how long I could walk the iron and be an iron worker, and so it was a number of things that came together that decided to take the LSAT and apply to law school.
Well, what was your feeling as you were going through law school? What were you learning that caused you to complete it? Because it's a kind of a grind.
I took a contracts emphasis, and I focused mostly on contracts because from working on bids as an iron worker, besides just doing the job, you would also draft bids, and so that was about the only experience with my background. I was interested in criminal law as well. I saw a jury trial when I was in college as part of an undergrad course, Gene Bartman's course on criminal law. And so I had an interest in that. So it was such, law school was such a different way of thinking. And it was such a challenge. I enjoyed the challenge. And the one benefit of being a veteran, that first year of law school is really kind of a cut year. That's really where your people drop out. You make it through your first year, odds are you're going to make it to the end. But that first year's a grind. But the benefit of being a veteran is you can always look back on something that you did that was extremely difficult and challenging, and you got through that. You'll get through this.
And when you got out of law school, where was your first law job?
It was with, I started 2 jobs at the same time. It was with Shire Law Office in Berlin doing general practice civil work, but I also was hired as a part-time assistant district attorney for the state in Washera County. So I split my time between doing general practice work, focusing mostly on contracts, property litigation, business law, some estate planning, and then I also was prosecutor, mostly in misdemeanor cases, low-level criminal cases at the start for Washera County, working my way up to felony.
Well, tell us
case
about
level.
the transition then to Winnebago County. You've been here for some time with the DA's office.
I have. I've been here for 11 years. So as also part when I was working general practice and as an assistant district attorney, I was taking special prosecution work for the state of Wisconsin as well. I took special prosecutions in Green Lake County, and eventually that led me to special prosecutor in Winnebago County after Christian Gossett, the district attorney, was elected. And after I handled some cases for Winnebago County as a special prosecutor, then Christian offered me a position as a full-time assistant district attorney. And so as at that point, I left private practice for good and entered public service full-time.
And you have been trying many of the high-profile cases since you've been here with the Winnebago County DA's office.
I have. So I've been here 11 years. I've been the deputy district attorney since 2010. So I'm the supervising attorney and I'm the head of the violent crimes unit. But the best guess is I've tried somewhere around 100 jury trials, but I've tried 3 first-degree intentional homicide jury trials. Each of those, well, 2 of them were at least a week long. One of them wasn't quite that long, but those cases can be very complex. And I also have tried the insanity cases, and those cases are complex as well because you get into battles of experts a lot of times in those cases, which, as you know, makes litigation quite interesting and complex. And human trafficking, sexual assaults, kidnappings is the bulk of my caseload now. But I began as the domestic violence prosecutor, and I also tried a homicide, first-degree homicide as that prosecutor. And in 2009, the Christine Ann Center awarded me their Partnering to Empower Award for my work in domestic abuse and with domestic abuse victims.
Well, your trial experience, especially your jury trial experience, is unusually impressive because we're in an age today where the legislature is trying to make it difficult and unlikely for people to have civil trial experience. And so that certainly means that you're going to know your way around the courtroom. We have to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get your take on this particular job that you want, being a circuit judge. We'll be right back. Welcome back to It's Your Law. I'm George Curtis. Scott Ceman is my guest, and he's a candidate for judge. And Scott, one of the things you're going to be facing if you're elected judge is everybody's going to compare you with Judge Judy. And that's where most people get their impression as to the law, a trial, and what a judge does. And of course, I keep telling people, well, I don't think Judge Judy's a lawyer. I know she's not a lawyer in Wisconsin. I doubt that she's a judge. She's an actress. And what she does on TV, no judge could possibly do. But the people want to know what a judge is required to do in Wisconsin. Why don't you tell them the breadth of the subjects that you would have to deal with as judge?
Well, I'll just start off though with Judge Judy. The major difference off the bat, besides me being an attorney, and it's questionable whether she is or not, is that you do not need to rule a courtroom the way she does. The courtroom, that's Judge Judy's courtroom. And this is the citizens of Winnebago County's courtroom. If elected, I would just simply be presiding over it. And you can do that as a judge with humility, with treating the litigants and all parties involved with respect, while having legal proficiency at the same time. So you would never see that type of attitude, and I can promise you I will never call it my courtroom. It'll be called Branch 1, but it will not be my courtroom. It belongs to the people of Winnebago County, and I will treat it as such. The duties of a judge are extremely vast. Besides all the different areas of the law, many people don't realize is judges go on call for 2 weeks. And at night, throughout the night, you can get hit with numerous search warrants, telephonic warrants we call McNeely warrants, which I created the template for the judges and the police that they still use in this county for OWI offenses and refusals. But besides all the on-call duties that you have to deal with at night, over the weekends you have to make probable cause determinations. They usually do that on Saturday afternoons for people who have been held in custody. And when it comes to the variety of law, I often tell people that law is a lot like medicine in the sense that it's such a vast field with so many different areas of specialty. While we all go to law school and we all receive the same Juris Doctorate, after law school and the bar exam, we essentially do a residency, whether it's your first job or actually with a firm as an internship, but we specialize. And I did do general practice work, but even in my general practice work, there was areas of about 5 different specialties I did. In the last 13 years, I've specialized as a prosecutor. So a judge has to have the ability to be a very good legal researcher so that when he or she is faced with something new in court, a med malpractice case, or something that they haven't regularly handled, they have to be able to readily access the law to properly handle the case. You need patience as a judge to give the litigants the opportunity to file briefs if you need them, to make the most informed decision that's the right decision. So the duties of a judge, besides being on call and besides ruling on cases, also involve performing weddings, and I think the most complicated duty of a judge, and you talk to judges, they'll tell you this, is presiding over jury trials. That's ultimately what a lot of it comes down to. Civil jury trials, criminal jury trials. I've tried about 100 cases. 3 of them were civil jury trials. I've won all 3, 2 of them by jury verdict, 1 by summary judgment. They will tell you that having all those jurors in there and the litigants, you get hit with motions and objections that they don't have an opportunity to prepare for and usually don't have a chance to go back and do research. They got to make a decision from the bench because you're in the middle of a trial and you have all the jurors there. So you have to have a profound understanding and comfort with the rules of evidence right off the bat to effectively oversee a jury trial. And this type of things come from experience.
And I think most people's impression of a judge is that one visit when they were in the courtroom for 15 minutes because they had neglected to renew their license plates or they were going 5 miles over the limit, and how they were treated by the judge, by the bailiff, by the court reporter, by the whole experience, gives them a lifetime impression of justice, doesn't it?
It does. And I think a lot of people in the public believe that the courts, judges, or prosecutors, they're all there to make a buck off them, and somehow this finances their position. And everybody involved will tell you, for the most part, you have no idea where this money goes. And we all, at least people I know and myself, have opposed additional court costs that the legislature keeps lumping on, but they do, and that's their job. And as a judge, you'll have to make that fine or that forfeiture when it's necessary. But if there's ever an alternative, and when it comes to these type of people who are in front of the judge who have a citation for not renewing their license plate, I would rather give that person 6 weeks. Why don't you come back, bring me proof of your registration? And if the prosecuting authority would agree to a motion to dismiss, maybe we'd be better off, instead of taking their money, getting them registered and making sure they're on the road safely. And that's an important role for a judge.
And all too often, a judge is an administrator. The judge doesn't write the law. The judge tries to apply the law and manage a courtroom so people have the sense, the belief, well-founded belief, that somebody's listening to them. And if a decision is made against them, there should be an honest, logical, understandable explanation of why I can't go along with you, Floyd.
Absolutely, I agree. I very much believe in the separation of powers, and the legislature writes the law and the judge rules on it or administers it, like you state. And for complicated cases, especially, or complex issues, important rulings, I think should be well thought out and should probably be done in writing so that the attorneys have a chance not only to be thoroughly explained in court by the judge, the explanation for their ruling, but also something that they can take back, put in their file, talk with their client about. And it's going to happen on probably almost every case where an attorney doesn't agree with the ruling I make, but at the end of the day, I'm confident they will accept it because, one, they got treated with respect, they got treated cordially in front of their client, and the law was explained to them from how I see it.
Scott, we're out of time. This has been a privilege for both of us. I hope that a lot of potential voters look at the show and consider your experience and your motives in wanting to be the next Circuit Judge, Branch 1 in Winnebago County. And good luck to you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Over the years of my legal experience, at least 5 of my associates decided to run for judge. 5 of them became judges. Rick Brown, who recently retired, Joe Shavey, who's an administrative law judge, recently retired. Bob Haase unfortunately passed away. And then we have Barb Hart Key, who's still a judge, and Scott Wolt, who's still a judge. They all were hard-working, successful lawyers in our firm. I think what motivated them to seek the judgeship and perform very well, I might say, is the desire to serve. I want people to understand that this job of being a judge is a big job, a challenging job, a time-consuming job, a job that requires weekend research. Lazy people don't become good judges. The people I mentioned that came from our firm weren't lazy. They're hard workers. They were successful, and they serve. You have a choice on April 3rd. You have 2 excellent candidates. Your job is to learn about these people and which one of them you want to be Circuit Judge, Branch 1. Vote thoughtfully because you're making a decision for the entire county. Thank you.